All right, we've created our VPC, we've created our internet gateway, we've attached it to the VPC. So we'll be creating this subnet. You can see the public subnet 1, public subnet 2, and just before that, you can see that all of this is, we have in the private cloud, we have 2 availability zones, right? And the purpose of this is for high availability as well as redundancy. So such that when, if by any reason our application here is down, our users can access our application through this place. So everything still keeps running. And then high availability. Let's say for the case where we have a lot of users accessing our application, this load balancer can distribute traffic right to the EC2 or the web server in each availability zones to allow fast responses and just makes our application highly available. So we'll be creating all these subnets, 3 subnets. These first 2 subnets are public, and that's why we have our internet gateway, even our load balancers, our bastion host, right? Bastion host can also be called jump server. It's basically a server that is used to securely access our other servers in the private subnets, basically. We'll explain in more details. So here we have the private subnet 1 and 2. It's for the, this is where we are hosting our application, and then this is for data. It's also private. We'll be also having our data here when we eventually do host a dynamic website. So let's go ahead and create our subnet using our naming convention. All right. So we can click on subnet here, create subnet, and you click on create subnet over here, and you select the VPC, our dev VPC that we created earlier, not the default one, this one. And then the side up log for the VPC. I want to give our subnet a name, so let's check out our naming convention. So the first subnet we are creating is a public AZ1, meaning the subnet in the public AZ 1 and 2, just like it was here, right? Let me turn this back. Shouldn't be that way. Just give me a second. Just like we have here is A and B, AZ1, AZ2, or AZAB, however the case may be. So we are trying to create this now. So let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. So let's use naming convention. Trying to get access to this. So I'll copy this name, dev subnet public easy, basically. So go back to our server and paste that name. So for the availability zone, so for this particular region, that's 3 availability zones. So we'll be using, since we are using 2 availability zones, we'll use 2A and B. You can use B, C, A, B, however, but we just have to make it consistent, right? If you are choosing A and B, choose A and B all true. B and C all true. But in this case, I'll be using A and B. So A for this one, and then for the CIDR block of the subnet, let's check our naming convention. So this is it here, basically. So 10.0.0/24 exactly. So the idea of these, right, if you look into networking, is that for this particular subnet, it will have about, can be calculated, but let's say for instance, about I think 3,000, a lot of IP addresses. So basically, what this SATA block does for you is that it defines how many IP address you can have in your VPC, right? So, and when we now have this in a particular subnet, we take out of, let's say for instance, we can have about 300 IP address here now. This, that's not the exact number, right? But I'm just, this would be, let's say about 50. So for this particular subnet, you can have 50 IP address, something like that nature, right? We can go deep into networking, but in this case, we just want to quickly create this. All right, so the name has been populated already. Click on create subnet. That is what we are going to do for every single subnet. So we've created public dev subnet public easy one. Want to create another subnet, select VPC, the naming convention. You can copy it from the naming convention, but I can type it offhand here. Public is 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, dev subnet public is 2 here. So this is the cyber block here. Note that everything is different from each other, right? So let's go on, and for this we choose A for the first one, easy one. This will be easy too, so we'll choose B, and it has to be consistent all through. So let's paste the subnet CIDR here and click on create subnet. All right, so we've created the public subnet. Now we are going to be creating the app subnet, which is a private, and here you can also check the naming convention. Okay, let me divide my screen so that to be very easy. That's okay. So here we are doing the private app subnet. So the name is this dev subnet private app. Just paste over here, and now right, we'll be picking A for the easy one and B for the easy two. It has to be consistent. So for the CIDR block here, just paste it and then click create subnet. The next one will be the private app easy two. So we'll click create subnet. Set our VPC just like we have been doing, and then let me copy this name quickly and then paste here, and then oh sorry, there's a mistake. The name is meant to be a subnet name. Okay, preferences will be in B. We've chosen A already, so we are staying between A and B, right? Because our architecture shows us that we have 2 availability zones, and I said we can choose between any of that. If you notice something here, right, you see that it says you have 256 IP address. So exactly what I was trying to say earlier, right? So in this particular subnet, like in other cases as well, you can have 256 IP address that can be given to any different resources like EC2 instance, load balancers, elastic IP, various things, right? The number of this one I can't exactly remember, but something that you can basically look up on the internet, right? And then we'll click on create subnet. So we have 2 more left, which are for the data, our database. We won't be using it now since we are hosting a static website, but eventually we would create subnets, set our VPC, and then paste the name. Preference is A. This one will be B, right? Don't forget that. Copy this and paste it. You can see 256 IPs, just like it. Everything here is 256 IP, but this is more, right? It's more. It's as though we are dividing what is here in 6 places. So if you are trying to get the number, you can do 256 times 16, which will give us the number of preparators you can have here. So create subnets. We have 1 more left. click on create subnet and then copy. Okay, select your VPC first and then paste the name, and we'll choose B. Don't mistake that, A and B. And for the CIDR block, yeah, copy and paste 256 as well, like I said earlier. Then we'll click on create. So now we have been able to create all the subnets that we will need, right? So if I remove subnet ID, you can see here the public, easy1, easy2, the private app, easy1, easy2, the data, easy1, easy2, right? And they are all available. And you can see their CIDR block so everything here has 256 IP. Even it's showing available of 251, right? Because the remaining 5, based on the networking, some are, some are unusable, some are already being used by certain, I think, services. I'm not very sure now, but that's it. So if you see this 28B AP, that's the way it should be. So at this point, we've been able to create our subnet, and the next thing we'll be doing will be that we should create route tables and create routes. Yeah, because currently now all the subnets that we have here are the same, even though we give the different names, public and private. So in the next video, we'll see what really makes them public and private. So see you in the next